For the high today. A dry weekend, lots of sunshine, 88 tomorrow, 86 Sunday. I'm meteorologist Terry Smith from the Weather Channel for Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
Currently, it's 82 degrees in Sparrows Point, 83 in Pasadena, and it's 83 degrees in Glen Burnie.
Sparrows Point.
I'm Maggie Hunter, 680 WCBM News.
It's time to listen to you, the listeners. Go to WCBM.com and vote on WCBM's latest poll. It's fun, it's fast, and let us know what you want more of on WCBM.com. Baltimore is listening.
You are about to hear the most interesting, informative, thought-provoking, opinion-leading, and funny show in America, on air and on the World Wide Web. This is the Rob Carson Show.
And by the grace of God, it is finally Friday. When all you have to do is work the second or third job to cover up for Joe Biden's Bidenflation. Yeah, there you go. So all you got to do is just worry about those second and third jobs. You know, maybe you're working at the grocery store bagging groceries like Kurt Warner did before he made his NFL comeback. Maybe you're having to sell cars like I did before I got a nationally syndicated radio show. Whatever. You got to do what you got to do, right? You got to do what you got to do. Kamala, sorry, it was racist dummy. Kamala, she said that she brought up hard work yesterday. And this woman who's never had a hard day's work in her life. I mean, all right, I'm going to leave that alone. Anyway, but she's never done anything hard in her. Okay, that is not what I meant to say. She's let's just say she's had a privileged upbringing. I know she grew up in Canada. From first to 12th grade, she grew up in Canada, and she lived in a Victorian home. And then she moved back to Berkeley, and then she kind of worked her way to the top. You know, the hard work that she did. And yesterday, she was espousing the virtue of hard work.
You know, the one thing about all of us is we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is good work.
Hard work is good work. Wow, she's being all sorts of girlfriend. Oh, when was the last time she talked like hard work is good work?
You know, the one thing about all of us is we like hard work. Hard work is good work.
Yeah.
Hard work is good work. The thing that we like about hard work is we have fun doing hard work. Hit me there, yeah, hit me. Wow, she's gonna come on all sorts of girlfriend there. She is just so authentic. I mean, honestly, just so authentic. A couple observations I want to make, other than the fact that Kamala likes work hard. If she's gonna work, she likes it hard. That's the way she does it. And a lot of times you can work, but you don't work hard. That girl likes to work hard. So there you go. And you know, hard work is good. It's good. In case you wanted to know, it's good. I've never heard her say good before, but now it's suddenly, instead of good, it's good. So yeah, okay, yeah, real authentic there. Just, wow, fantastic human being. So I was thinking about this. You got J.D. Vance, who after 9/11 signed up to be shot at. You got Donald Trump, who was literally shot and stood up bravely and held his fist in the air and said, fight, fight, fight. Our national media somehow declared that historical moment that we've never seen in our lives, a politician being shot, standing up in defiance and saying fight. I mean, something that should go down in history books. If Joe Biden did that, my God, he would have that spot on Mount Rushmore instead of Mount Rushmoron, which I suggested. And then you've got Tim Walz, who was a communist who signed up for the National Guard, but then hero worshipped Mao Zedong by going to China and teaching in China, and then celebrating Tiananmen Square, where as many as 10,000 freedom-loving people were crushed to death by tank tracks. This is real. And then their bodies washed into the storm drains. And he loves him some China. And he walked away when the possibility of being shot at occurred after he'd been in the National Guard for a while. It's kind of weird, isn't it? And then you've got a woman over here who really loves to work hard. It is remarkable. I was thinking about this because they're trying to paint Tim Walz as a good American guy. He's a coach and he's a teacher and all of this, and you know, he's a Midwesterner. A couple of things going on here. First of all, just a few months ago, and for the last few years, Joe Biden has said the greatest threat in America is white supremacy. White men have privilege. White men are the enemy. White men have all of the advantage. And Kamala Harris chose 6 white men as possibilities to be vice president, then chose the whitest of the white, who just happened to be a communist, to be her running mate. So there's that. Second of all, I know a lot of guys in the Midwest, because you see, I grew up in Iowa, and I lived in Minnesota, and my mother lived in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, for 20 years. And my wife is married to a guy who, if you looked at him, you'd say he kind of looks like Tim Walz. And he's a great guy. He's in his 60s. He's got white hair, balding, just like old Tim Walz, you know, and he speaks with a Minnesota accent, you know, a South Dakota accent. And his name's Bill. And Bill, he is retired, but he stays very busy. He actually keeps score and statistics at high school and college basketball games and other sporting events, and he has coached as well. And he's not a communist. And if you told Bill that, hey, Bill, what do you think about aborting babies up to birth? Like a month before the baby could be taken out and born alive and grow up perfectly healthy, what would you think if you just vacuumed that baby out and killed it? And Bill would go, well, Rob, you know, that'd be pretty darn cruel and unusual there. I think that would be like murder. That's what he'd say. And then I'd say, well, let me ask you this, Bill. What about if, say, for instance, one of your grandchildren is a little girl, and she's 9, and she decides she wants to be a little boy, and you know, your daughter, who has this daughter, who's your grandchild, says, no, we don't want to do that, but the state of Minnesota says, no, you can come here and you can have it done without the parents' permission, and they can give her a hysterectomy and then prevent her breasts from either growing or removing them after she's going through puberty. You have a mastectomy and a hysterectomy, and then take the skin off of her arm, just peel her arm like a banana, and then roll it up around a Pringles can, and then strap it between her legs and say that's a penis. What would you think about that, Bill? And Bill would go, well, Rob, you know, that sounds kind of evil, if you ask me. I got to tell you, isn't that the kind of stuff they did there in Hitler's Germany? That's what Bill would say. And I'd say, you know what, Bill, you're exactly right. You are exactly right. Hey, Bill, let me ask you this question. Yeah, Rob, what do you think, man? I want to hear what you got to say. Okay, Bill. Say, for instance, Minneapolis was burning, and you had declared Minneapolis a DEI. One of your first executive measures as a governor was to make a DEI the law of the land. And then about a couple months later, there was a guy named George Floyd who died. Oh yeah, Rob, I've heard of that George Floyd guy. Oh, I read that story. There's plenty of, yeah. Well, let me finish my story here, Bill. So anyway, so George Floyd dies because he took fentanyl cocaine, and they blamed it on the cops. And the governor, you're the governor, and you said, hey, you know what? It's because there's so much racism, like 1968, even if there isn't. And it was murder, and it was just like Ferguson, Missouri, and all of a sudden people started burning down everything and looting everything. Would you call out the National Guard? Well, yeah, Rob, my gosh, I'd do that right away. I would warn them. I'd say, hey, we're not going to take this kind of stuff, you know, and we're not going to allow this to happen. Well, see, Bill, but the problem is Tim Walz, the governor, let Minneapolis burn for 3 days every single night, and his wife sat on the patio of the governor's mansion and said she wanted to keep the windows open. She could smell the burning tires. You know, reminding her of the racial strife and all of that. And Bill would say, well, Rob, that's kind of ridiculous. That's kind of weird there, like sitting there on her patio and smelling the tires when there are people dying and people are losing their livelihoods. And how many businesses did you say got lost there, Rob? Well, Bill, 1,500 businesses burned down, and a year later only 20 had reopened because the governor didn't do a damn thing. And Bill would say, well, I don't understand why the people of Minnesota would reelect that jackass. And I'd say, I know, but they're communists. Yeah, there you go. That's the story. Yeah, Bill is a good Midwestern man. I am a guy who was raised on a farm in southwest Iowa. If you would have seen my childhood upbringing, you would have went, dear God, what century were you raised in? Because my father was a World War II veteran. My mother was a greatest generation person, and we lived on a farm, and we were self-sufficient. We raised our own chickens. We didn't have pizza delivery. We were poor, and all of this. And we would have never thought of any of these things. You know why? Because we grew up in a Midwestern town, and maybe this is similar to where you live. I grew up in Neola, Iowa, and there are towns like Minden and Persia and Pisgah and all these, and all over the Midwest and up into the upper Midwest and all around the country, I would say. And all of these little towns, what is the heart of those communities? It's generally a church. And where I live, it's a Catholic church. And I went to my family reunion in Panama, which is near my hometown of Neola, and all of these towns, the church is the center of the city. And every one of the views that I just espoused of Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, who's supposed to be Mr. Average and Mr. Midwestern, every one of those churches would say the opposite and say what Tim Walz espouses is evil. There you go. As far as him being an average guy because he has, balding and he coached baseball, that's nonsense. And it is coming out, and I take it as an affront to my brother-in-law, Bill, and every good and decent, hardworking Midwesterner, and I can speak on behalf of Midwesterners because I am one, that they would try to elevate this filthy communist, China Communist Party loving jerkweed, I'll just be kind, as some sort of somebody you should hold on a pedestal is ridiculous. And it's falling on its face, fortunately. Now, I've got a lot of news about new polling. Kamala Harris still not answering any questions. Donald Trump had a presser yesterday to end all. More evidence that not only was the government possibly involved in the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, they may have allowed the assassin to come across the southern border and done nothing about it. Yeah, not the guy who actually pulled the trigger, but, somebody who was gonna and might have been involved. So we've got all that coming up, plus some new comedy. Here's the number, 800-922-6680. This is The Rob Carson Show.